Okay. Starting from the top, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's special supplementary class. This is our first extra class that we're doing in 2026, and it's going to be a teaching review class. The reason we're doing this, as you guys know, a couple days ago, the PT put out some new questions. So we're going to take this opportunity to talk about some of them, and give you guys a little bit of, a little bit of background on how to do these, and talk a bit about like the strategies and stuff that you might use to complete these questions. We're going to do two question types today, the write essay and the write from dictation. Now, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to cover all the new questions, of course. There's too many of them. But I've specifically chosen some of the slightly more challenging ones that have come out this time around. And yeah, hopefully this will be useful for you guys. And during today's class, we'll be doing some exercises. We invite you guys to have a try at these questions, and to maybe participate and do some brainstorming and stuff like that. So basically, one thing I say to all my students, and also to anybody who's new here tonight, please don't be shy. Don't worry about making mistakes. Have a try at the exercises anyway, right? And hopefully you'll be able to learn something useful. Okay, so let me just have a quick look. Oh, we've got a pretty large class tonight. I've got about 70 people in here. Okay. All right, we're going to start today with essay writing, 写作文. Okay, and I've got three different essay questions prepared today. I'm going to introduce you to these topics, and then I want to do a quick brainstorming and essay structuring and writing exercise for each of them. And I'll be asking for some volunteers to help me out with this. Let's begin. So our first essay question is about tourism. All right. So it's for a less developed country, the disadvantages of tourism are as great as the advantages. Please discuss this statement and give and explain your opinion. Okay. So step number one, take a moment and quickly read the question and make sure you understand what it's asking. I've put a Chinese translation here as well, just for anybody who needs it. Now, this question is talking, mostly about advantages and disadvantages of tourism, but specifically for less developed countries, so poorer countries. If you're imagining maybe some of the countries in, like, for example, Africa, Southeast Asia, and things like that, ones who don't have very strong economies or technologies. Yeah. Um, and for these kinds of questions, it's always important to remember the context. Like, what's the background that they're asking for? Because I think just in the last 2 days, I've seen a few students try to write this one, and they've mostly talked about the advantage and disadvantages of tourism part, but they forgot about this less developed country part, right? So one of the requirements when you're writing and preparing is just to make sure you're answering the full question, taking down all of the information. Yeah. You might also notice that I've highlighted the words disadvantage and advantage, right? 就是优缺点. Now, the reason why I highlighted these is because when you're writing these kinds of essays, I always say to people that when they give you an essay question, it's usually written in a way that's very, very general, very broad. 就是他们设计题目的时候呢，他们总是问的很广泛，这样子你们回答的时候就是有很多选择。你想写什么就可以写什么，但是呢，反过来就是，如果你们回答这个问题的时候，如果你们也写的很广泛的话，那这个作文的质量就平常是比较低级的。如果你写的太广泛的话，那你没办法展示出你的词汇哈，你的发展内容的能力了。Yeah, so even though the original question uses these words, you need to make sure that you actually be more specific and you define exactly which advantage or disadvantage you're actually talking about, right? Don't just copy. the original question. Otherwise, yeah, your marks aren't going to be that high. Okay, so uh, I'll just tell you guys exactly what I did to prepare for this, okay? Because this is something that you can do very easily at home. I basically just copy pasted this question into ChatGPT and I started with a list of the different advantages and disadvantages that I might talk about. Okay, let me start by asking you guys if you have a look at this, if you have a very quick look at this list of advantages and disadvantages, number one, do you know all of them? And number two, if you're writing a short essay, like, just 200 words or so, can you actually talk about all of these? Do you have enough time to really discuss all of these advantages and disadvantages? Definitely no, right? Absolutely not. So basically, whenever we're doing brainstorming or, we're thinking about what we write, what we want is we want to start off with a lot of different ideas. But in the end, most of the time we're just choosing like one or two of them to talk about, and that's it, right? Which one you choose depends mostly on whichever one you feel more comfortable with. Right，你就是应该选一个话题是你自己感觉比较敏感的，你是能写出大概200个字，你可以扩展的内容就行了。Okay, so tonight I'm going to give you guys a bit of a choice, right? I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just very quickly introducing this topic. I'll just explain what these things are roughly. And then, as a class, we're going to choose which one do we feel the best about, and then we'll do an essay plan based on that. Does that sound good to everyone? Yeah, but I'll just quickly go over all the different talking points, and you might choose something different from other people in the class, and that's fine as well. All right, so uh, what are the advantages and disadvantages of tourism in a poorer country? Let's start with the advantages. So I think the most obvious one, the one that I see students talking about the most, is the economic growth part, right? 就是经济发展, right? So the idea is if your country isn't very economically developed, then having a tourism industry is very good, right? You make a lot of money, not just from the tourism, but also from all the related industries, right? Things like, hotels, restaurants, transport and travel, all that kind of stuff. Right. Yeah. So economic growth, stimulating business and all that, that's probably the number one most common argument advantage over here, right? Very similar and attached is infrastructure development, right? So usually if you're developing a tourism industry, you're also developing infrastructures at the same time. So things like your transport networks, right? Your hotels, your, kind of like urban infrastructure, right? All the buildings, residential areas, and stuff like that. So that's a slightly more complex topic, right? You need to know a little bit about infrastructure before you can talk about things like that. Right. There's also other things, right? So if you think like, for example, what does a hotel need? You probably say things like, all right, our country needs an airport, right? Our country needs like decent internet services and things like that to provide all the regular expected tourism services. All right, number three, poverty reduction. Right. So this is also kind of connected to economic growth. But the idea is if your country's getting more money, then the number of people living in poverty will definitely be decreasing. Right. There'll be more jobs available in the tourism industry, which means there's going to be less unemployment and things like that. So that's a good thing. Number four, cultural exchange. So this idea of sharing your culture around the world, letting people understand and appreciate your country's local culture. That's something that we generally seen as being a good thing. And then finally, government revenue. Okay, so obviously the government collects taxes. It's going to collect a portion of the money, and hopefully that money will go into better welfare services, 福利, and things like that for the country. Yeah. So those are just some examples of advantages. Those were the top five, you might say, right? There's probably, if you think for a long time, there's probably a lot of other advantages that you could talk about, and you're free to, right? If you're writing your own essay, you can choose whatever you like. But, this is just giving you guys a general overview of this topic. Now, what about on the negative side? Okay, so on the negative side, we've got things like environmental damage, right? Tourism creates a lot of pollution, right? Has environmental costs. If you're building new infrastructure, you're clearing out land. You might be destroying rainforests and things like that in order to develop the industry. So that's one side. Right. Number two is an economic one, which is that profits are often taken by foreign companies, right? A lot of the hotels and stuff we're building are not necessarily from local businesses. Right. You're going to have, lots of big foreign companies like Hilton or Meriton or something going over, maybe McDonald's and KFC are developing, their businesses in the tourism area. So yeah, not all the money goes towards the local country, right? The cultural erosion, right? So this is the kind of slow and steady loss of your own local culture. Maybe the tourists are damaging or destroying some of your cultural sites, right? Maybe things like Western culture influence becomes too big in your hometown or something like that, and it starts to get, the new generation might not appreciate your own local culture as much anymore, right? Inflation, right? When you're making money, not everyone makes money at the same speed, I guess, right? So you lead to problems like inflation and wealth gap, right? Where the currency gets devalued. That's more for the business students. If you know anything about that topic, that's a little bit of a difficult one. And finally, some things about the dependence on tourism, right? Which is tourism is generally not a very stable source of income. Tourism, there's, times during the year where basically no one's working, and you don't really want your country's whole economy just to be based on that one thing. It makes you very vulnerable to things like a economic recession. Again, that might be a topic that's a bit more suitable for anybody in the class who's studying economics. For everyone else, you might choose not to talk about that. All right. So, I guess up to this point, I've been talking a lot. How do you guys feel about that overview? Does everyone have a few ideas to start off with? The kinds of things you could talk about? Yeah, hopefully, yes. All right. Now, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to try and write out like a kind of plan for our essay tonight as a class, okay? And as I said before, we can't talk about all of these things. That's way too much stuff to cover, right? How many things can we actually talk about here? Well, most of the time it's two things, right? Mo For most people, you're probably writing two body paragraphs, right? So each paragraph should only contain one single idea, or you might think of it as just one of these. Yeah, you could, in theory, maybe even have two body paragraphs, both talking about the same one, if you want to. Now, that means that we need to make a choice. Which one of these do you think is the easiest to discuss, or maybe which two combined, right? And if you're choosing two things, then you usually want them to be connected together. They should have some kind of link or relationship that makes the logic of your essay stronger. So, my question is, uh, what do you guys want to choose from this list? Right? And what's the connection? What's the main idea or theme that connects the two ideas? So does anyone want to suggest to me uh, maybe which ones you guys think we should go for? Yeah, Joey, what do you reckon?
For the advantages, I will recommend like the infrastructure development,
Hmm.
and it will like bring some, yeah, it will bring some environmental damage, like for the air pollution, for the like damage for the forests, like
Right.
this.
Yeah. So now, what is the connection between these two? Are you saying this is a cause and effect? The infrastructure development leads to the environmental damage?
Yeah, for example, if you build airports or some railway station, maybe you need to damage the forest or and it will bring some air pollution.
Yeah,
As yeah,
absolutely.
as well as you are like the less developed country, so some infrastructure company may be from the foreign companies, so some profit will taken by foreign companies as well.
Yeah, now while that I think is definitely correct, here I would say you're talking about three different things. Okay. So you basically said we're going to talk about this one, and this one, right?
Yes, I think these two
Yeah.
has the connected with the infrastructure development.
Yeah, now good. Now, while it's definitely connected, right? I agree, definitely connected. However, for me, I think three things in an essay is too much.
Oh yeah.
这个作文200个字写不完的，这个范围有点太广泛了。
Mm.
对对，所以呢，我在这里就是虽然他们都是有连接，而且我相信，如果你真的想想的话，你还可以跟 economic growth 什么也连起来的，对吗？
Yeah, yeah.
但是我的概念就是你最好把范围缩小一点，控制好。
那我就选那个 environmental damage。
对，那就你只写这个是吗？或
对，
者就是你第一说的就是二和一这里两个连起来，这个我倒觉得
对对对，
是可以的。
是，
Yeah,
嗯，
good, good. Um, and by the way, guys, I just want to make it clear, right? You don't have to choose one advantage and one disadvantage, right? You might fully support something and just choose two advantages if you want to. That's fine as well. Please keep that in mind. Yeah. All right. So that's one of our choices. All right. So Joey's idea, I think, is great, right? We're doing a cause and effect relationship, 因果关系, right? Where, yeah, on the one hand, you're developing your infrastructures, right? New transport networks, airports, things like that, but at the cost of the environment. And that's a very good direction to take it. Wu Tong, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, just like my essay for you in the tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
say, yes, I write the economic growth in my
Uh-huh.
essay. And in the body one, I choose tourism can create you some a lot of them spending, such as transportation, food, and hotels
Right,
to
great.
the
Yeah, good. So we're talking about the economic growth side. Excellent. And is that the only one? Is the whole essay just about that?
yeah that in the body too. I will discuss the government can use this fund 然后 to develop
Yeah, yeah.
international construction.
Yeah, absolutely. So yours is a more one-sided essay where you're choosing this one and this one, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah.
I think there will be some links to this each
Yeah,
other.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that one's also a very good choice, quite logical, right? Now you can see some of these link together pretty well and some of them don't. Right?
Yeah,
So for example, if I had to do some more examples, right? Well, this cultural exchange one and cultural erosion, that one links pretty well. They're both about culture, right?
yeah,
But if I choose, like, for example, poverty and environment, those two doesn't seem to have any particular connection to each other. Yeah. So when you're making these choices, there's no real right or wrong. You just want to make sure you have a clear idea of, what's your main argument, what's your main theme that connects these things together. Yeah. Let's do one more. Andong Wang, did you have a different idea? Andong Wang, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a different idea that you
Yeah.
wanted to share?
I want to write the disadvantages of the tourism and the advantages of the economic growth background. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So which
Yeah.
disadvantage do you want to connect to the economic advantage?
Yeah. The advantage of the economic growth is it can increase the profit and increase the employment rate and
Yeah.
increase the revenue of the per country the per country of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's economic growth and for example and the link back to my top of my main topic.
Yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, and the disadvantages, I want to write inflection, because uh, because tourism, because because the tourism industry is increased, the rental fee is increased, and the local people in the
Right.
less
Yeah, yeah.
in the less countries can't afford to the rental fee and the other service fees like that.
All right, good. So I think that that's also a very good choice, right? So you're making more money on the one hand, but on the other hand, things also cost more. Right.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
yeah, I want to write the cost of the living fee of the local systems of the developed of the less developed countries is increased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if I had one suggestion, it's going to be very similar to what I said earlier to Joey, which is be a bit careful, try not to cover too much stuff. Because what you said to me was on the disadvantage side, you chose the inflation, which is good. Right?
Yeah.
But on the advantages side, you kind of talked a bit about this, you talked a bit about this, and you talked about a bit about this as well. That I feel like is a little bit too many. So here you might want to just reduce the scope a little bit and just say, let's just talk about the fact that local industries are making more money and just finish it there. Right.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
just talk about the economic growth of the less developed country, just the
Yeah.
economic growth.
Yeah, good. So that's already more than enough to do a full paragraph on. Okay. So just remember, guys, right? Try to control your scope. Don't try to cover too many topics because 200 words, 20 minutes, you have a limit on how much you can develop in that time. Yeah, great. So we got three great choices, and yeah, I know a few other people also wanted to volunteer. Don't worry, I'll choose you guys for the next one. Okay, but we've got a couple of options, and now we're going to I'm going to give you guys a bit of a vote, okay, to see which one you would like us to do a actual essay plan for tonight. Okay, so we had three kind of options given by our volunteers. Let me just do my very quick summary of them. Okay, so the first one was Joey's one, right? And the Joey's argument was that tourism is great for infrastructure development, right? Uh, but often at the cost, right, of environmental, degradation or something like that, right? So this one is going to be a cause and effect type of structure. So that's our first choice. Our second choice was from Wutong, right? And her version was what was it again? That was the economic
Economic.
growth side, leading to government revenue. So that one's were mostly positive advantage argument, right? So tourism, right, is great for economic growth and prosperity, right? Industries develop, uh, and the government can take tax revenue, right, and invest it into, the country's welfare or something like that, right? Yeah. And finally, the last one is Andong Wang's version, which is this idea that tourism, right, is great for, building wealth and developing industries, right, but also leads to inflation, right, and, slash increased cost of living. Right. Yeah. And this one is mostly from the perspective of, ordinary citizens, let's say. Right. So we're not going to talk too much about the government side of things here. Yeah. And I think all three of these are great. They're all very academic topics, right? Logically, they all sound fantastic. So these are like different topic sentences that we might have, main arguments. All right, so now my question is, and this is for everybody. Here we've got one, two, and three. Okay, I would like you guys to take a quick vote. Which one do you feel you want to see a plan of? We don't have enough time to write all of these tonight, so we're just going to pick one. Which one do you guys like the most? Just type in the meeting chat one, two, or three. Which one do you prefer? And then I'll have a look and see and then we'll just pick out the most popular one to write. Yeah. I just want to be clear, they're all great. Okay, nothing wrong with any of them, right? It's yeah, it's just a preference thing. Um, okay, I'm going to make that a bit easier to read. All right. Give you guys 30 more seconds to put in a vote. So far, it looks like number 2 looks like the most popular. 10 more seconds.对，第二个就是只强调一方面，它就是不说缺点，好吗？缺点可以很快提到一下，但是呢，它主要讲的是优点。对。All right, I think that's enough time now. It was very close, okay, between 2 and 3, but I think 2 won by I think 2 votes only. Yeah. Okay, so we'll do number 2 for tonight, and you can see a lot of these kind of have a bit of overlap as well. All right. So that's good. So now what we're going to do, final step is we're going to write an essay plan, right? But not the full essay, right? If you guys are interested in writing a full essay and you come to my classes, you can obviously feel free to turn it into a full essay. But we're only doing essay plan because that's usually what you guys are going to be doing for a real test, right? When you're memorizing answers, you're not going to be memorizing a full essay. Usually you're only memorizing a couple of the key points and then you learn to develop them during the exam. Yeah. Okay. Uh, the question asks, disadvantages of tourism are as great as the advantages. Yes, that is correct, right? But you can say, I disagree with that. You can just say, I disagree. There's only advantages, no disadvantages. Right. Or you don't say that directly, but you can definitely say that as a general response. Does that make sense? Right. Yeah. So your opinion doesn't have to be, what they write, right? You can just say, I disagree with your statement to begin with and explain why it's just beneficial in general. Yeah. All right, great. So we're going to go with number 2 tonight, right? And don't worry, if you go with like one advantage, one disadvantage, that's what we call a comparison style essay, right? Whereas if you just talk about only advantages or only disadvantages, it's just a different style. It's what we call an argumentative essay where you're, strongly supporting one side. Yeah. Yeah, one side is quite often a bit easier, a bit cleaner, but everybody has their own preference. There's no real right or wrong here. In the end, if you look at the essay marking criteria, there's no rules for if you have to support one side or the other side or anything like that, right? There's nothing in the in the content section that says one answer is better than the other. You can completely choose what you want to write. The examiners are going to be checking the quality of the writing, not whether they agree with your argument or not. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a quick plan now. Okay. So we're going with number 2 for this one. Let me just get rid of these for now. All right. And this is basically going to be our topic sentence, right? This is our intro statement. All right, so now what we just need is a little bit of I guess, more detail on exactly what's going to go into our body paragraphs and conclusion, and that'll be it. Nice and simple. Okay, so here's our intro. Now what we want is we want a body 1, a body 2, uh, and a conclusion. Yeah. Sorry, can I just can everyone remind me, Wu Tong, was this your one?
Yeah,
Was this your answer? Yeah, cool. I guess do you already have a little bit in mind about what each of these paragraphs is talking about?
yeah,
Yeah, could you tell me?
yeah. My my body one says that tourism from all over the world created a lot of spending in a less developed country, such as transport, food, and accommodations.
Right. Yeah. So that's body one is kind of like a bit of a kind of mostly background information paragraph, right? Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
my introduction says I believe the tourism is my point. I'm at in the uh in the instruction.
Yeah, yeah. Now I want to make this nice and simple so it's easier to understand, right? So I'm going to phrase this more as a question, right? Which is, what industries, right, you know, benefit uh, from tourism? Does, does that make sense? So this is a paragraph that's kind of giving the answer to this particular question. Yeah?
Was tourism was industries.
Yeah. Which industries benefit from tourism？就是哪些行业旅游是对哪些行业带来了好处？
Uh, yeah,
就是我的意思就是你刚才在描述的基本上就是这个问题的答案，对吗？
yeah, I think is benefit for transportation.
对sorry，我不是在说你要回答这个问题，我是说你就是已经写的这个作文，就是本来就在回答这个问题。
我的 Body One 回答的是，我的 Body One 回答就是在说他的在说就是他创造的这些好处可以可以就是带动更多的那个就是带来更多的经济收入。
对对，我就是这个意思，就是这个就是你在讲的。好吗？
Yeah,
我为什么说？然后我相信你就是会讲到那个什么跟交通有关的，跟那个比如说那个酒店啊，那个饭店啊等等，对不对啊？Yeah.
yes.
So you're talking about all these industries, yes. Now, one thing I want you guys to learn is when it comes to brainstorming, questions are better than answers. It sounds a bit strange, but whenever I write a plan for my essays, I tend to prefer just summarizing the content of a paragraph by asking a question because that stimulates your brain and your thinking, right? Stops you from getting stuck. So when you're in the middle of a test, if you want to use this particular structure, you basically just answer this question. And of course, you're going to talk about things like transportation, right? Accommodation, services, tour groups, etc. Right? Souvenir shops. You can talk about all those, right? And that's going to talk about, the economic growth side of things. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, cool. Now, the next one, body two, what was that talking about?
In my body too, I talk about the government can use this fund and to develop uh, their national structure.
Yeah, right.
Structure, yes.
So this one, if we phrase it in a question, it would be, right, how can
Uh,
the government, right, capitalize, right, on the economic growth, right?
yeah,
That way we'll be talking about taking tax revenue, right, to develop infrastructures,
yeah,
welfare institutions, or something like that, right? Yeah,
yes.
something along those lines. And yeah, that's it. Great. Right. And then finally, what's the conclusion here?
In this conclusion, I gave a suggestion. I suggest the government should provide visa-free policy for foreign tourism.
Huh? Yeah, great. So, basically, pol you know, uh, governments should uh, uh, create policies, right, which encourage tourism, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great. That's it. Makes perfect sense. And yeah, no worries at all. So it's a nice and simple, and so body two would be just to label this in terms of the logic, right? This is again a cause and effect, right? So one thing leads to actually it's more like a solution benefit type thing, right? Uh, where we're talking about taking the money from here and putting it into something else. That's our logical connection or link between our body paragraphs. Nice. Um, yeah, I think that's a great answer overall. So how does everyone feel about that? Can everyone follow along? Does everyone understand the logic that we've got going here in this piece? Hopefully, yes, right? And just remember one thing, which is when we're writing these, we're not really writing the full essay, okay? So each of these is going to turn into a full paragraph where you're going to talk about all the details, give examples, all the regular stuff, right? But when you've got a nice simple plan like this, right, in your head, it's very clear, it's very clean, you know exactly roughly what your message is for each paragraph. That way you won't have any logic problems. Yeah. And the rest of it is just seeing how much detail and information you can give. All right. Very good. I'm pretty happy with that one. If you're able to write that successfully, easy 90, no problems. All right, now we're going to do this exercise a little bit faster, but a similar kind of thing for the next two questions as well. Okay, and I'll ask for some other volunteers. So let's have a look at this second question. People who are famous entertainers or sports persons should give up their right to privacy, as this is the price of fame. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this point of view? So basically, do famous people have privacy rights, right? Or did they kind of give them up? 他们是不是故意牺牲了？对吗? In order to become famous, right? If you're rich, if you're, wealthy, influential, powerful, right, and popular and so on, is that, to gain all these benefits, are you sacrificing your privacy to a degree? That's kind of what this is talking about. A bit of a tricky and philosophical question here. Let's have a look at some of the things that you could talk about. And by the way, guys, if you have an idea, it doesn't have to be the same as these. These are like some of the most common arguments, but if you have an original idea, please feel free to share it. That's fine as well. Yeah. Okay, so on the privacy side, so if you're supporting more of the they deserve their privacy side, we've got things like human rights, right? Every person's right to be safe, protected, and so on. We've got this argument about separating your work and private life, which is when celebrities want to show off, right, or share part of their lives, the deal is they're sharing their professional life, their work, right? It doesn't mean they're inviting you to join in on their family life and stuff like that. Which leads to number three, family protection, which is, celebrity stories and media coverage. It doesn't just affect the celebrity, it also affects their family and loved ones and stuff, which causes a problem. Right. Number four is about journalism ethics, right? 道德, right? What are the things that journalists should and should not be able to do, right? And finally, if a more difficult topic, but if you know anything about law and privacy laws and publication laws, then you can talk about the legal protections on that side. Yeah. That one's a tough topic though. So if you don't know much about law, if you can't say anything very specific, it's probably a good idea not to talk about it. Yeah. And then on the other side, what about the people who agree with the price of fame part? right? Which is basically that they're choosing to give up their privacy, right? So the first one's about public interest, which is actually kind of similar to number two, public investment, right? All of the money, their livelihoods and stuff come from the public, right? So the idea is that you're kind of making a deal with the public, right? You're saying, support my work, give me money and stuff like that. And in exchange, I'm going to give you access to me, right? If you're a fan, right, then you have access to the celebrity to a degree, right? And you're entitled to know about their new projects and what's going on in their lives and so on, right? Being a role model, right? So a lot of these idols and stuff are role models, especially to young kids and stuff like that. And so the way that they conduct themselves, right, in all parts of their lives, is something that, young kids will want to follow and copy. Number three, media and commercial benefits, which is this argument of if you're using people and the media to become rich and famous, then it's only natural that people will want to continue seeing you in the media. You can't just become rich and famous and then suddenly disappear, right? It's expected that you give, back to the community to a degree. And then finally, last one's about anti-corruption, which is that it's the job of the media to make sure that they expose any possible corruption or bad things that are happening, especially on the side of very wealthy and famous people. Okay. Yeah, good. So those are kind of like arguments for and against on this topic, right? So once again, can I get some volunteers? Anybody who would like to have a try at this question? Um, what do you imagine are the most interesting or easiest things to write about? Um, yeah, Swap. Would you like to have a try?
Hi, William.
Hello.
Hi. Actually, I want to talk about maybe public interest or and being a role model. And I think price of frame is very important.
All right.
So I think maybe entertainers or sports persons should give up their um a little bit privacy, I think.
Yeah.
Um
So it's this
and
idea like they have a responsibility to the public.
Yeah, my point is because they are the public person, so they maybe have more resources and more funds to do something, and they have maybe they are highly likely to disuse their positions. So I think we need to use the force like power. Yeah.
Right, right, yeah. So it's this idea that, once you become like a famous celebrity or politician or something like that, right? You have a responsibility to the public and, there needs to be some method of
Yeah,
protecting you.
yeah, I
Right.
think, yeah, yeah, maybe I think journalism or journalism ethics is the way to enforce their behaviors to
Right, right.
be
So
to be
I think I
correct.
think if I had to choose, right, it sounds like you're mostly arguing like these things, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Mostly those things. So now we could talk about some of this stuff, but probably better just to keep it out. Otherwise, it becomes too complicated.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, because what you're probably gonna end up with is like this will be body one and this will be body two, and you don't really have time to talk about more stuff.
Yeah, yeah, just
Even
yeah, my point is using news to bond their behaviors to be very good person to be a role model.
yeah,
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 like
yeah.
this.
So if you want, you can say you can define them their good behaviors as being a role model, right?
Yeah,
The expectation and so on. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I think that one works pretty well. Very good. No, no worries. All right.
Okay.
Janice, do you have a different idea?
Hello, William.
Hello, yes.
I think the privacy is like more easier to write because
Yeah.
if famous entertainers or sports people give up their privacy, they might will cause the loss of legal rights
Yeah, yeah.
because if the privacy is closure, that will lead the violation of individual rights, and also it will damage the legal civil rights.
Right. Now, what I would like to ask you is how much do you know about legal and civil rights? So
No.
it is true, it is absolutely true, but
Yeah.
can you write about it in detail? The reason I say this is because I think a lot of people do choose this direction, but it's actually a pretty hard topic to talk about. It's quite technical.
Yeah, so how do we write about the human rights? And also, I have the second body progress.
Yeah.
I will like,
So
um,
human rights is a little bit easier than legal and civil rights.
yeah, and
So
also I wanna add the idea for, um, if they're giving up the right to privacy, they will bring the mental stress, mental issue, I think.
yeah, yeah. So there's also
Yeah,
the consequences, right? So
yeah,
on the human rights side is a little bit easier because the human rights is mostly
mm,
talking about the right to safety,
mm,
right? There's actually no
mm,
human right for privacy, but safety is the closest thing, which is the idea that
mm,
you should feel safe and you should be able to protect yourself and your family, right? Because, if you get some bad publicity, it often comes with a lot of threats and, negative
yeah.
like
The
commentary.
increase the
Yeah.
psychological border and the
Yeah.
mental health problems.
Even there's even been lots of examples of violence and
Mm,
stuff against celebrities as well.
yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So
mm,
there is the human rights one I think is easier to argue.
yeah,
The legal rights one is much, much more complex, right?
yeah.
That's talking about things like the laws of publicity, right?
Mm,
Whether or not you're giving consent for people to use your stories, your image, and things like that.
mm,
If it causes any commercial damage
mm,
to your career or to any properties and stuff that you own and things like that, right? If you
mm.
get bad reviews and stuff, maybe your movies don't sell for as much, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you think the mental stress will be in paragraph
Yeah.
2? Is
I
that be
think
okay?
I think that's great, right? That's what we
Yeah,
call a problem solution style structure,
yeah.
right?
And the paragraph 1 will be the human rights.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
actually, sorry, not problem solution, cause and effect, right?
Yeah, cause.
So you're talking about the causes,
Yeah,
the bad publicity and the things, and then the effects are the consequences, what happens
yes.
as a
Okay,
result. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. And that one would be a very, yeah, so I think that would be kind of towards the one and two, right?
Mm,
And, if you want, sorry, not one and two, one and probably closer to three, and you're
3,
going
yeah.
to link that with like psychological stuff,
Okay.
right? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good. All right, let's choose one last one. Janice, would you like to have a go?
I'm already have a go.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong name. Yanning. Yeah, would you like to have a try at this one as well?
Actually, for me, I think half half, because
Yeah, sure.
I think celebrities need some exposure because they need to attract more attention from audience.
Hmm.
And on the other hand, this kind of exposure will harm his privacy and especially his family member or friends. So I think the main thing is how to balance the exposure and the privacy. Yeah.
Right. So this is where now this is an interesting one, right? Because I think right now it sounds like you're mostly describing kind of three and four over here, right?
Yeah.
However,
It-
this is an example of one where I think there's not a very obvious connection or link between these two. Right.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Mm,
but what you're doing is you're kind of coming up with a link where you're saying there's like this need for a balance, right?
yes.
So my
Yeah.
question for you is, what is that balance based on? How, like in your mind,
Mm.
how exactly do you find a balance? What do you think is considered a good situation?
Yeah, maybe the boundary because actually the audience would like to know some privacy from the celebrities, but um, but this but yeah, but they wanna dig if they wanna dig out more, it will undermine uh the feeling of
Right.
his
So my
friend.
question is, what is that boundary? What's that line where you're like, you're not
Um,
allowed to go over?
hard. Um, the boundary is mm,
So for me, it feels like the boundary is getting closer towards number two, where it's like my work life is supposed
yeah.
to be accessible
Oh,
to the
yeah.
public, whereas my private life is not.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So it becomes it's an interesting question of it's a question of when a celebrity agrees to all this media coverage and stuff like that. So you're saying celebrities to an extent do agree to be covered in the media, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the basis for their jobs. But to what extent? And the boundary maybe is their professional life only.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
So
deal.
yeah, yeah, the privacy came from the work life.
Yeah. So,
Also,
so
yeah,
basically, we're saying we're sacrificing work life,
yeah, yeah.
right? My work is to be in front of the cameras, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But as soon as I get home and I close the door or something like that, that's it. My relationships, my family have nothing to do with you.
yeah.
Right. And yeah, now that's just one example of an interpretation, right?
Hmm.
But that's something that you can argue quite clearly, right?
Yeah,
So this one is a good example of an essay structure called the rule and exception style structure, which is what is the general rules that we're trying to follow here.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And you can just say the rules are, the deal is that a celebrity gives up their, professional privacy, right,
yeah,
but not their
yeah.
personal life. Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's a great argument in general. Yeah. So when it comes to different topics, you just need to kind of find a connection between them that makes your essay a lot more logical. Yeah, nice. Great
Okay,
job. All
thank
right.
you.
So, let's do a quick summary then of those topics, shall we? So copy, paste. Sorry, guys, I'm just doing a little bit of word editing. Okay, so what were our three arguments again? Okay, um, so the first one, Shaw's one was that it was I think it was public interest and anti-corruption, right? That one. Basically, right, this idea that once uh, you're in the public eye, right? Basically a famous celebrity of some sort, right? You have a duty or a responsibility, right? To behave morally and be a role model, right? Um, Therefore, right, it is the media's job to provide coverage and scrutiny, right, to hold you responsible. Is that roughly what you're saying? So I just want to double check. Was that
Yes,
rough?
William.
Was that pretty close? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know I'm
Very close.
paraphrasing, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Number two is Janice's argument. Let me just remind myself what it was. Yes. Janice's argument was talking about, the kind of coverage that can be damaging, right? Privacy, right? So, they're saying like, famous people, right, deserve the same, protections and rights uh, as everyone else, right? And, excessive, excessively negative media coverage, right, can endanger, right, uh, their endanger their mental health, right, and compromise their family safety, right. Uh, Great. So that's like a bit of a cause and effect kind of relationship. Janice, is that a decent paraphrase of what you were saying? Yeah, good. And then finally, Yan-An's version, right, which is something like, uh, when celebrities, uh, you know, uh, are let's just say celebrities make a deal uh, with the media, right? Uh, they sacrifice, right, their professional privacy, uh, you know, to gain fame, wealth, etc., right? But that doesn't mean they agree to sacrifice their private lives, right? Basically, that's not part of the deal. Yeah. And so that one will be a more of a, this one will be more of a like comparison uh, style essay, right? Where you have one paragraph talking about the exposure that they get in their professional lives and contrasting that with a different paragraph about, their family life and what should be protected. Okay. Very good. I guess once again, let's do a vote, shall we? This one's a bit of a tougher topic. Which one are you guys more interested in? Which one, which one do you guys feel, uh, a little bit of a stronger connection to? All right, cool, cool. So far, threes and twos are both pretty popular, very close. I'll do 30, I'll wait 30 more seconds. Oh, I've got a couple of ones coming in. One, two, three, four, five. I think two is in the lead by a tiny bit, by one vote so far. All right, I think that's enough time. I did a quick count. Two won by one vote. So we're going to do number two. Yeah, very good. Uh, okay, so once again, let me just copy over this general structure. Where are we here? Okay, so this is our introduction. All right. So, sorry, whose answer was this again? So, I just want to talk a little bit about uh, what do we think the body paragraphs are going to be talking about? Well, I think we mostly know what they're talking about. But sorry, whose was this? I think this was Janice's answer, right? Janice, are you there?
Yeah, but I have no idea about that.
Not too sure. Well,
Yeah.
what we can say is that we kind of already know what it is based on the intro, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So body one is definitely going to be talking about the rights and protections, and body two
Mm.
is going to be talking about the negative health consequences and things like that.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Because those are the things that you put in the introduction, so you need to explain those in detail.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I'll just give you an
maybe.
example, right? If I was writing the body one, the question that I would be asking, right, is what kinds of rights and privacy protections, right, uh,
Yeah.
exist,
Mm,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So this is where we're talking about human rights, maybe laws, etc., right? If you know any, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about body two? If you had to phrase it as a question of what you're going to talk about, what do you think it would be?
Like the um we also need to make protection of celebrities' families. Like
I think that's probably covered in number one in terms of all the rights
oh
and protections, right? Remember what you're talking about here. You're talking about endangering health and compromising their family's safety. So,
Yeah.
and it's a cause and effect, right? So, what would be a good question that can stimulate your brainstorming for this? Not too sure?
Yeah.
I know this is a bit of a new way of thinking, right? But it's actually not too hard, right? This would be is like what, right, are the consequences, right? If, you know, these rights and poli laws are ignored. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you're going to talk about, health, right, safety, right? And probably you're going to be talking about some, real life examples, because I think there's been lots and lots of examples of this in the media already,
That's right. Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. So I want you guys to try and get used to, very simple questions like this, right? Because this will, if you have something like this, it'll guide you when you're doing your writing so that you don't go off topic. Right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. And what about the conclusion? What recommendations do you have? What's the takeaway from all?
Um, um, like privacy is a fundamental human right that should be protected of a person's social status.
Yeah, right. So basically, a conclusion is, uh, social status, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't affect, right, a person's rights.
yeah,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's a very reasonable conclusion.
yeah. And also being famous not means like losing control or over one's personal rights
Yeah,
or personal
absolutely.
privacy.
Yeah. I'll just put fame together with that just because you have a word limit. So we want to keep it
Okay,
a little bit shorter.
okay.
But yeah, absolutely. Very good. All right. Is everyone happy with that? Right. And by the way, this kind of you might notice like this kind of cause and effect, right? Like the what if something bad happens type of structure. This can be applied to lots of essays. It's one of the most common ones in essay writing, right? So part of what you're doing is maybe memorizing some plans and answers to questions, but you should also, just pay a little bit of attention to how we develop and how we put these essay plans together because these same kind of patterns, you can use them for lots and lots of different essays, not just this one. Yeah. All right. Good, good. Um, are there any questions so far? Is everyone happy with these exercises that we're doing? Is anyone maybe confused or having a bit of trouble following with this? Yes, Janice.
Should we necessarily need the connection with body one and body two?
It's a recommended thing, right? Because remember, you're being given marks on the logic of your essay.
Yeah.
So if there's connections, obviously it'll be a
Mm.
stronger essay overall.
Oh, okay.
Right. It's the same as asking, is it necessary for me to provide examples or evidence? Is it necessary for me to have a conclusion? Right.
Yeah.
Technically, it's your choice, but all of these things give you more marks.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you want to try and show off as much of it as possible. Yeah.
So should we must contain like every paragraph for like one idea and one explanation and one example?
That's
Is
a
that
good,
be?
that's the way that I tend to teach new students. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Once you become a more professional writer, once you have a lot more confidence, in theory, none of
Mm.
those rules really exist.
Oh, okay.
Right. But when you're a bit of a beginner and you're not very used to essay structures and stuff like that, it's usually a good idea to follow a very stable, simple structure that you can.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's what I generally say. Once you're at this level of like William Shakespeare or stuff, you can write whatever you want.
Okay.
It'll be great. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, we might do one last one and then we'll move on to some right from dictations to just to kind of have a bit of a relaxing finish off. Okay. So the last question is probably the most challenging one from the new set. It's with the increase of digital media available online. The role of the library has become obsolete. Universities should only procure new digital media rather than constantly updating their textbooks. So basically, change everything to digital, right? And discuss the both the advantages and disadvantages of this position and give your own point of view. Now, there is a difference between this one and the first one, right? So this one specifically tells us to discuss both. Right, it's not asking you, do you agree with one's agree or disagree? It's saying talk about both sides. So here we basically have to do a bit of a comparison talking about both sides. Whereas if you have a look at that first question, right, it just says discuss this statement. So you might not agree with the statement. So you can choose to talk about just one side here. Whereas if the question is specifically asking discuss both, then you should be talking about both. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So, we're just following whatever the question is actually saying. Yeah. Now, so we already talked earlier about, being specific about our advantages and disadvantages, right? The other thing that makes this particular question hard is it also talks it's not just about digital materials. So I've seen a few essays where they only talk about the digital materials and completely forget about the first half, which is the role of the library. Right. So, in other words, this question is kind of hard because you have to bring in a lot of different stuff together to put your answer together, right? You got to consider, quite a lot of scope. Which means that for this question, I think it's very important to control the scope. Don't make your topic too broad, or there's no way you can finish writing it in 300 words. Okay, let's have a look at some of the main ideas that people talk about. Okay. On the advantages side, talking about the advantages of replacing with digital media, we've got obviously the huge access, right? Once you have access to the internet, the amount of resources you get is like almost unlimited compared to libraries, right? There's the cost and space efficiency argument. So that's more of an economy argument where you don't need to store everything in a library anymore. Right. You've got the study and research efficiency, right? You got all the, tools like online databases, Google Scholar, Wikipedia, those kinds of things, where it's much, much easier to catalog and search for the information you need. We've got things like data transfer, the ability to download, to upload, and to send information via the cloud and things like that, which you can't really do using print media. And we can talk a bit about the environmental benefits. Now, this one's a bit a bit of a very separate topic, but obviously you can save a lot of paper, things like that if you're not printing books and all that. Yeah. So those are some of the nice things about, replacing books with a digital catalog. In terms of the disadvantages, you've got the issue of the reliability of your resources, right? Basically, online, right? It's very easy to publish whatever you want online without anyone checking it, right? And especially since you don't have to make a financial investment to publish online, there's a lot of dodgy stuff that you might be able to find. Now, obviously, you can argue that some online resources are just scanned and exactly the same as the paper version, right? But on the other hand, there's a lot of more dodgy websites, things that have like political biases and stuff, right? This idea of digital distraction, which is it's hard to concentrate when you're on the internet. There's a lot of stuff going on in there that could be distracting you from your studies. Academic dishonesty. Right. So the fact that it's very easy to copy and paste and things like that makes it much more tempting for students to try to take shortcuts. Right. People will be mentioning things like, the latest technologies like AI, for example, start making the academic dishonesty thing very hard to control and regulate. Right. You can talk about the cultural value of books, right? Maybe the fact that the library's role is maybe changing. It's not so much a place to do research. Maybe it's more of a place similar to a museum where you're storing some of your cultural artifacts, right? And finally, the last one, digital fragility, which is that the internet could go down at any moment, right? Books are kind of a more stable kind of source, right? When internet's not so reliable. This one, I think, is maybe a stronger argument in developing countries, right? So in a country like Australia or America or China, probably not really that relevant. But there's a lot of places in the world that don't have access to stable internet and things like that. So in those places, books are maybe preferred. Yeah. Okay. So that's again a very quick summary of the kinds of things that you can talk about. Um, yeah, would anybody like to have a try at this one? Yes, 梧桐.
Hi, William. I think I want to try the advantage is the huge access to digital media
Uh-huh.
because we can get the information more easily just search and click. We
Yeah,
can
yeah.
get so much information. But the disadvantage, I want to choose the uh, related of sources because it's too much information. We have to spend a lot of time to judge the information is true or false.
Right, exactly, right. So this kind of information overload, right? And whether or not it's difficult these days to tell, right, what's actually reliable or not. Yeah, great. I think that's a fantastic and probably if I was to judge, it's probably one of the easier connections that you can do. Yeah. So I think that's a very good choice. And you know what? Just to make sure I don't forget it, I might just very quickly just write these down first, if you don't mind. Oh, sorry, not this one. This one. Okay. So our first option is something like on the one hand, right? Digital media uh, gives us effortless access, right, to almost unlimited, uh, you know, quantities of resources, right? But on the other hand, right, this information overload makes it very difficult, right, to judge the reliability, right, of the resources. Yeah, good. And maybe we don't want to use the word resources too much. I might paraphrase that to like materials. Would that be a accurate summary?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think that one's great. Yeah. So I mean, talking about Kelly's question, right? Can we link them? The answer is you can't link all of them, right? But this one I think is very well linked. Yeah. All right. Jasper, would you like to have a try? Did you have something different?
Yep. So I would like to say, use digital media or AI can just get the answer faster and
Yes.
easier.
So
I
that's
think
kind
it's,
of closer to the study and research efficiency argument, right?
yeah, I think so.
Yes.
And but the disadvantage is if you just understand the knowledge by book, you can just remember deeply or just yeah.
Right, right. So this is where maybe the argument is that efficiency is not the only thing, right?
Yes,
As in,
so
you're saying there's a difference between simply getting answers, right,
yeah.
versus actually learning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't cite the efficiency. I think it may belong to the efficiency. So the disadvantage, I just want to we can just understanding like more insightful.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. Now, that's not something that I've written down in the one, two, three, four, five. That would be a number six.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this idea of deep learning and understanding. Great. And that's completely fine, right? Like I said, these are just the first ones that came up on ChatGPT. You can absolutely come up with a new idea here.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that works perfectly fine, right? So that would be a comparative style essay, right?
Yes, I just want to build the link, the strong connection.
Yeah. So that'll be like, the main goal, right, of learning, right, is
Yep.
to have a full and complete, right, understanding, right, of of the content, right? So while digital media is certainly uh, more efficient, right, in terms of accessing information and research, right, it may not be so, uh, you know, uh, let's say, uh, traditional, uh, research methods, right, tend to, uh, you know, I guess yield a deeper understanding, right,
Yep.
of the subject matter. Yeah, great. No problems there at all. I think that one's fine. Okay. And let's see. Jenny, I haven't heard from you tonight, so do you want to have a try? No, thanks. Okay. Let's see. In that case, I guess we'll go Andong again. What were you thinking?
Um, I would like to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of this position under the economic background.
Yeah,
And
sure.
yeah, so the advantages I want to talk about for the universities, this method can decrease their operation costs
Yes,
and
yeah,
space efficiency.
good. So that's that
The
one.
Yeah, and the disadvantages I want to talk about for the university students, especially some per students, so it can increase their studying costs. Uh, because use a digital
Ah,
book,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, use a
because
digital book can use yeah, the
right, because the
laptop, yeah,
before the university was paying the cost for the study
yeah, yeah,
materials,
yeah,
now that cost transfers over to the student, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, right, not something that I mentioned, right, in the disadvantages. But yeah, that definitely links together very well. So that's more of a, like a financial side analysis. Yeah, absolutely. Very good. I really like the fact that you guys are thinking of some ideas which I didn't even cover in my summary. Very nice. Yeah, right. So, um, you know, uh, from a financial perspective, right?
Yeah.
You know, the uh the cost, right, of resource access, right, shifts from the university, right, slash
Yeah,
library, right,
yeah.
onto the
Onto
onto the
the
students,
yeah, to the school, yeah.
right, who now need to subscribe to various e-journals, uh, and like digital databases, right? Yeah, right. So that's kind of what we're talking about here, because these days all the good resources aren't free, right? You definitely need to pay for them. Yeah, and again, this is a comparison, right? So good for the university, not so good for the student. Yeah, nice. Um, yeah, I think all of these are great answers. So once again, last time, um, do a vote, guys. Which one do you think is the easiest for you to write? Which one do you feel the most comfortable with? All right, number one's looking very popular this time round. Yep, I'll give you guys 30 more seconds. Wow, this time round, everyone likes number one. Okay, sure, great. No problems at all. Yeah, and one thing I will say is, I often have preferences, right, of which one like I would personally prefer. For example, if I had to choose, if I'm honest, I would choose number three. Not because I think number three is better, it's just because I think it's a more unique argument. I've read lots of essays on this topic already, and number three is the most unique one that I think I've found out of the three, right? But when you're making a choice, you shouldn't base it on which argument you like the most. Don't base it on personal preference. Always base your choice on which one you think you can give the highest level information about, right? You might have the ideas in Chinese, but if you feel like it's too difficult to translate into English or things like that, just keep in mind, right? In the end, this is a language exam, right? So you should always choose whichever one you can provide the highest level detail. That's going to give you the highest marks. Yeah. All right. I think almost everyone chose number one this time around, so we'll do number one for sure. Okay, so one last time, let's copy over. And this one is definitely a comparison style essay, right? Um, okay, so we've got an on the one hand, on the other hand, right? And the comparison here is basically talking about the quality of the resources, right? So basically, the first question is going to be something like, right, how does, right, digital technology, right, give us better, let's say, better access to resources, right? And so, sorry, I shouldn't be saying this myself. I should be asking you guys. Sorry, whose topic was this one again?
It's me.
Wutong, this one's yours, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what kinds of things do you think you'd be talking about in that first paragraph?
I think I will see more convenience to get information.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We already said that. That's the main argument. I'm saying what kinds of details and stuff do you think you might put in here?
Uh,
Like, how does it make it more convenient?
because more convenience, we can research the information anywhere and anytime.
So that's a little bit too broad, I think, right? What I'm looking for is specific functions, names of websites, databases, technologies, and things like that.
Oh,
So remember,
sorry, I can't remember the message.
not too sure. Well, what about everyone else, right? Can everyone give me some examples of the specific functions, tools, technologies, and things that make it better?
Like translation.
Yeah, right. So, things like translations, right? AI, search engines, right? Online databases, right? E-journals and publications, right? Etc. Right. Now, you don't have to talk about all of these, right? Wikipedia, Google, Scholar, all those types of things, right? Yeah, there's like so much stuff that's available online these days. There's even like things like also things like online courses as well. Right. Yeah, fantastic. So, like the idea is that it makes it easier, right? More convenient, things like that. But if you want to get the high marks, remember you need to talk more specifically, more about the technical information. Yeah. All right. Very good. And then body two, right? We're talking about reliability, right? So what's that going to be about?
Mm,
Or what's the question that we'd be asking?
what's the question? I think is we should spend a lot of time, and this will lower our study efficiency.
To a degree, yes, right? However, I think the more interesting direction would be why is rely why is why are online materials, right? Uh, you know, questionable, right? Slash
Oh, yeah.
lower in reliability, right? Yeah, so
Oh,
you can obviously say it eventually leads to reduced study efficiency, right? But what's the reliability issue here?
um,
So why do you feel like these like if I've got 1,000 websites, the information I might be getting is not super reliable?
um, the the information is true. Uh, the information is too much.
Yeah, it's too much, but why do we suspect that it might not be that reliable? So the fact
Mm,
that there's too much makes
everyone
sense, right?
can put information on this.
Yeah, that's the main issue, right? So, there's too little regulation, right, for online publishing,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, everyone has, biased, opinions, etc., right? And too much info equals too much time evaluating, right? Yeah, so that's that kind of maybe chain of logic that we're trying to argue there. Yeah, good. Cool. Nice. Okay, and then finally, what's our conclusion? So
I will
what's our
give a
takeaway?
suggestion
Yeah.
about to the university should judge the information for students on online for the 那个 online library.
Yeah. Remember, we do want to wrap back around to the role of the library, right? So if we're talking about university libraries, do you feel, with what you've talked about at this point, do you think the role of the library should still be to keep the books, or do you think they should be just mostly about regulating digital resources?
Uh, so what can? Oh yes, okay, both is a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a question of, I mean, you can say that libraries can get rid of their book collections, right? But it seems you're saying that the library maybe still has a role, right? The library's like the university's like maybe research center or whatever you want to call it. You're saying that they should help do the regulation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's completely fine, right? So maybe the role of the library is to, filter slash regulate uh materials, right? Both digital and paperback, let's say. Right? Yeah. Um,
Okay.
and that would be fine. Yeah.
Yes, pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Good. So yeah, all you can say online resources are just supplemental, right? Yeah, and that's absolutely fine too. Over here, by the way, this is we're always running the risk of making our essays too long and complicated. But if you want, you could also do a comparison of the reliability of the paper textbooks and stuff like that, right? You can talk about, how print media publishing usually goes through multiple layers of like editing, fact checking, and things like that. That's why they're generally considered to be more reliable. On the other hand, though, a lot of digital materials might just be direct scans of the original text. There's lots of e-journals and stuff which were originally print published. So, it's a complex topic if you really want to dive into it. That might be a completely different essay, though. That's one essay you can't fit that much info. Yeah. All right. Very good. I guess how did you feel about those exercises, guys? Did you find them useful? Now, there were maybe one or two other questions that I've missed from the teaching list. A lot of the current teaching is still the old stuff, right? So a lot of the questions haven't changed from the last couple of months, but these were probably the three most challenging new ones that came out in the question pool. Yeah. All right. Look, we've got about half an hour left. I thought let's just relax a little bit and finish off with a little bit of write from dictation. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do tonight is a slightly different exercise to what I usually do. Now, these materials, you guys can very easily go on to Xingqi or Yinghuocong or whatever to access these questions, right? We copied it directly from those platforms as well. But what I want to do tonight is a bit of a exercise with you guys, right? Kind of getting you guys used to like a good way to do the actual study and memorization for these types of things. Okay, so I've got a total of 15 questions here. We've separated it into 3 sets of 5. We'll start off with some nice easy ones, like the island is located at the south end of the bay, and we'll slowly move our way up to the more difficult stuff, like this marine environments one, right? But I want you to focus not so much on the memorization part, but on the process of how you should be doing this practice. So if you guys would like to join in for this particular exercise, you will actually you don't need pen and paper unless you prefer to take notes by hand. You can also just use your computers. Okay, but please feel free to try and follow along and see if you can do this exercise from start to finish. Okay, all right. I would like a volunteer, please, from the class. Right. Step 1 is we're going to do a little bit of a contextual exercise on how to memorize accurately, right? And with a high level of detail. Let's see. Okay, first volunteer tonight was Jasper. Get you to do these ones.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to do the first 5 questions, right? But before I start, hiding these questions and reading them out for you guys, I'm just going to do an exercise with you where we're making sure that we fully understand what these sentences are talking about. Okay?
Okay.
So, the first sentence, and you've got the translation there as well. The island is located at the south end of the bay, right? Now, what the translation tells us is the meaning of the sentence. So I'm sure everyone here, if you can read it, you'll understand the sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I want you to do is I want you to understand it a little bit more deeply. So, Jasper, what I would like to ask you is, in this sentence, what's the background of this sentence? What situation in your life do you think you might hear someone say this sentence?
Maybe you are traveling, you ask for the island.
Yeah, you're asking for directions. You're like, there's this famous tourist location, right? An island. And you're like, hey,
Yeah.
do you know where this place is? And they're like, oh yeah, of course. The
Yeah.
island's at the south end of the bay.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, that's the kind of situation you're imagining, right? Now, for any new students in the class, why is this kind of imagining a scenario thing important? It's because I think for new students, one of the biggest problems that people have is the small details, right? What verb tense is the sentence? Are these nouns singular or plural? Or things like that. Being able to imagine the scenario is critical for those little details because you'll be able to imagine what would you say in that specific situation in your head. Right. And you usually automatically make all the decisions related to your choice of tense, your choice of preposition, and stuff like that. So it might seem like it's a bit of an extra step that does nothing, but trust me when I say it makes a very big difference when it comes to especially these grammatical components. Good. All right. Now, second one. Art is an expression of creative skills and imagination. What do you think here?
So it's maybe like the art class. The teacher will talk about the induction.
Yeah, the teacher's like trying to motivate their students, talking about why is art so important and things like
Yeah.
that, right? She might say something like this. So this is this talking about a specific art or is this more like a general statement?
I think it's belong to specific.
Is it specific? Is that one specific piece of art?
I think it is because usually we don't will say the art is something like that. If you don't enroll in art class.
对，所以我的意思是，这个在讲的是更理论性的，还是在讲一个特殊的情况？
哦，理论的。
这是更理论性的，对不对？它不
It
是在
seem
说某一幅画或者某一
yeah,
个
it
表达。
seem like definition.
Yeah. It's more like a theory or definition, right? And why am I asking this is because, right, when you know that, right, you're much more likely to put, for example, the word "an" instead of a "the," for instance. Does that make sense？就是你如果知
Yeah.
道是理论性的话，你就知道不应该是不是特殊情况，不应该是的，对不对啊？你也知道，因为我们在说的是比较广泛，所以呢，这种技巧应该是复数的，不会是单数的，对吗？
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of detail I'm talking about when you're understanding the general idea of the scenario, right? You can make those types of decisions much more accurately. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, good. Number three, the cafeteria features soups, salads, sandwiches, chicken, and fish.
uh, I think will appear on the cafeteria, the signboard.
Huh?
You
Yeah,
know,
maybe. Yeah, maybe you're reading it off a board, or
uh,
maybe you're asking the lunch lady, what do you guys have? And she says,
yeah,
we have these things. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Now, for this question, what I would say, one thing you guys should probably pay attention to is this is a very simple sentence to understand, but sometimes there's words like, for example, features, right? Which I find a lot of students forget, right? You understand the basic idea. The basic idea is like the cafeteria, like maybe has or sells or something like that, right?
yeah,
But when they use a word that's maybe not so common, a lot of people tend to forget it. So this is where we're going to do an exercise very soon where we try to basically specifically focus on any words where the usage is maybe a bit unfamiliar. You should also watch for those kinds of things when you're
yeah.
at the
When
exercise.
I practice this one, I will just listening the features, and I will just lose part of word behind.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
this is more of a problem for repeat sentence. In write from dictation, it's not too bad because you have time to react, right? You don't have to say it straight away or anything. Yeah.
yeah. So I will need to remember all these five type of food.
Yeah, because when
Yeah,
you do the translation, if you translate it to Chinese and translate it back, you probably won't use the word features in your translation, right? It's a bit
yeah,
weird. Yeah, so there will occasionally be a interesting word choice that you just basically have to memorize, hard memorize.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt. So what
Yeah.
I do is if I in Australia, I just go into the five coffee shop today to ask what's the main features for this menus.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You
Right.
know
Try to
what?
keep
Just
it.
do it, man. Just do it in Australia.
Yeah.
Ask them what's the
Yeah.
main features and emphasize what's the main features of this menu.
Yeah. And
You,
they'll be like, that's a bit weird. Why are you saying the word features? That's my right from
I love this word, but I
dictation.
love this word, baby. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can memorize it. Yeah. So I see. So what do you like? I like soup, salads, sandwiches, and
Chicken and
and chicken and the fish. Yeah, chicken and fish is really nice. Do you have chicken and fish? Do you have chicken and fish?
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's actually a very good tip, right? Anything you're trying to learn, try to use it as much as possible. Make
Yeah,
it much easier to memorize.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
So in your PTE lifestyle, anytime you go to the shop, just ask them, do you have soup? Like, do you have salads? Do you have salads? You know, I plus the S in the end. Do you have salad? Sandwiches? Do you have sandwiches? All right, chicken and fish. All right, what's your main feature? Tell me the main features. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How are
Okay.
you gonna forget, man? They're gonna call police soon, you know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
crazy person here. All right, just go next one.
Next one. The area has a variety of underwater habitats and species. So I guess the next time you go to a national park, you should ask the guy there, do you guys have
Yes.
a variety of underwater habitats and
That's
species?
right. Just go to aquarium, right? Do you like the underwater habits and species, right? Do you have more things about that? You know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So again, right, this is a non-specific sentence, right? We're talking about a very big area. So notice, right, we're talking non-specific, not the, right? It's a variety, a large bunch of them, right? And that's why it's also plural, habitats and species, right? So
Yeah.
just pay attention to these little details. And then
And I'm sorry to interrupt. The habitats and the species is such a beautiful word for the writing. So just stick together.
yeah,
Okay.
any environmental topic you have, try to use that.
Just stick together, habits and
Right.
species
Yeah.
anytime. Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah,
can imagine.
so if you do that, you're gonna do a serious damage to the habitats and the species.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, see that? The link
That's it.
together.
I
Yeah.
think these two words just maybe appear in the article like to describe the animal. You can just
Yeah.
yeah.
And use everywhere in the writing. Just stick together. They were beautiful word. They will increase the mark for sure.
Yeah, any
Okay.
topic about global warming, climate change, any topic about pollution, even that tourism topic, right? Over tourism can lead to the destruction of habitats and species. Done.
Yeah. Even in describe image, I remember describe image. There's a picture, just a cow. Remember, that's a very famous one. Just say like this areas probably provide unlimited waters for like habitats and species. See how many marks you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
completely fine.
So learn one WFD right from dictation. You can learn so many things from it.
Yeah.
Don't freaking try to memorize it. It's just ridiculous. You got that white paper. Okay, the area you have no feelings, man. You are dead inside.
Yeah.
Oh, you're dead inside. Yeah, make more expression. That's
When
how
we,
I learn.
when we say really understand something, what it really means is you know how to use it. Right? If you're using it in your normal conversations, that means you've actually really remembered it.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if you're just like repeating it 20 times in one day, you'll forget half the time the next day.
Yeah.
Not
It's
that
just boring, man.
Yeah.
A variety. Oh my God. So don't use many in your life, okay? A variety of.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now, this one is a little bit more challenging to use
Yeah.
in your daily life, but salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground. What kind of situation do you imagine here?
Let's go to the walls. Ask where the salt. All right. That's, do you know where the salt come from? All right. Let me tell you right. That salt as a person from seawater extended from the ground.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Right. So here, if you have to memorize probably words like seawater extracted, you have to remember things like seawater is one word. But other than that, mostly pretty simple. Okay.
Yeah, I have one question for that is extracted form is together，就是他们
Yeah.
是个搭配吗？
对，
Okay.
是的。Right. You can think of the word extracted, right, is similar to, for example, the word taken.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Although taken, you might say taken out of, but taken from is also fun.
对你肯定不是博士了。如果你是那种化学博士的话，这个词你天天看到，因为化学做实验都是要提取的
Yeah.
extract。
Yeah.
因为你可能不这方面。对，如果你读物理的话，化学的话，这个词经常出现的。
Yeah. So there will be some obviously vocabulary, some combinations you just have to
你
memorize.
肯定平时最近不看报纸的，这不美国不是打那个东西吗？天天用这个单词，拿它的 oil
Yeah, extracted from the
extracted
ground.
from
That's
the
right.
ground。对，你肯定平时不看，但这个词出现不知道多少次了。你看美国最近那个事情，
是的。
了解的比较少。
对，就是平时我就教你们要多阅读多听，因为你增加你的 vocabulary。
嗯哼。
Yeah.
啊，
好，现在这是我们的练习的第一步，好吗？这个是处理你们的内容问题，就是假如说你听的时候你不知道他讲的是什么呢？你如果这样子练过的话，那你肯定是有能力识别出来了。但是有第二个问题，就是在真的考试中呢，你是看不到这个句子，它是放一个音频，对不对啊？所以就假如说你是认识所有的词等等。对不对？记得住这个句子，这不是等于你当天是能识别出来。就是他如果是比如说给印度人讲的，他们口音很重的话，你说不定还是听不懂他们讲的话，对吗？所以第二步呢，就是我们需要就是直接听一下这个音频，然后最好就是像 repeat sentence 一样跟读几遍，就是要适应就是这个节奏和那个语调和语速。Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 repetitions. Jasper, I'll do this with you, and everyone else can follow along at home, where we're just going to say the sentence twice, and each time I say it, I just want you to repeat after me, just like a repeat sentence.
Okay.
Okay, ready? So, number 1, the island is located at the south end of the bay.
The island is located at south end of the bay.
Good. One more time. The island is located at the south end of the bay.
The island is located at the south end of the bay.
Yes. Art is an expression of creative skills and imagination.
Art is an expression of creative skills and imagination.
Nice. The cafeteria features soup, salads, sandwiches, chicken, and fish.
The cafeteria features soup, salad, sandwich, chicken, and fish.
Yeah, 慢起来一点. The cafeteria features soup, salads, sandwiches, chicken, and fish.
The cafeteria features soup, salad, sandwich, chicken, and fish.
Okay, sandwiches.
Okay.
对，三个音节，对。Now that's obviously more of a speaking thing, but we want to have good habits. Yeah. The area has a variety of underwater habitats and species.
The area have a variety of underwater habitats and species.
Yeah, we're imagining maybe we're going to like an aquarium or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The area has a variety of underwater habitats and species.
The area has a variety of underwater habitats and species.
Good. And last one, salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground.
Salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground.
Good. Salt. I'll.
Salt,
Say.
salt.
Salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground.
Salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground.
Okay, great. Perfect. So that's number two. That's just to make sure when you hear the sentence, you can definitely recognize it. Okay. Now, last step. Okay. And the last step, I'm just going to change my screen over to something else so that you guys can't see it. I'll just put a blank screen on. And what we're going to do is now we're going to do the write from dictation of those. I'm going to say those, and I'd like you guys to try and type it out as quickly as possible directly into the meeting chat. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and when you're practicing, your goal is to do it fast. Okay? So
Okay.
you want to try to give me an answer in 30 seconds or less. Sometimes, you might make a small spelling mistake if you do a typo. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just get your answer in nice and quick. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to have a try, please feel free to put your answers in. Okay, number one, the island is located at the south end of the bay. So someone is saying, hey, where's the island? Right, can you point me in the right direction? Yeah, good. So get your answers in nice and quick. Don't worry too much about double checking spelling and stuff like that. You'll do that in the real test, but when you're practicing, get your answers as quick as you can. Okay, good. Sentence number two. Your art teacher is saying to you, art is an expression of creative skills and imagination. Right. Remember what I said before for that sentence, right? Because we know it's a theory, it's non-specific, there should be no this in the sentence, right? Yeah. All right, number three, right? What does your cafeteria menu have? The cafeteria features soup, salads, sandwiches, chicken, and fish. Yeah, everybody got the word features, so clearly our memorization method is pretty good, right? Nice. Okay, number four, right? This is when we're going to the aquarium, right? The area has a variety of underwater habitats and species. All right, very good. And the last one, for some reason, we're at Woolworths and we're asking the employee there where the salt is from. Salt is produced from seawater or extracted from the ground. All right, fantastic. So, how did we feel about those? Not too bad, right? 就是你们是不是感觉就是这样子练的时候，你们不是真的怕会把这个句子忘记掉了？这方面基本上没有问题了。所有的问题可能就是一些小小的拼写或者语法错，对吗？但是就是这个整体的内容或者什么这样子的练习方式是比较那个成功的，不大会把整个句子忘记掉，对吗？Yeah. So that's the kind of this is generally how we recommend you do your study or practice in the first round. It is maybe a little bit time consuming compared to a normal method, but you're going to see the results are usually pretty good. You don't forget large sections, right? Now, that's not to say that everyone's answer is perfect. There was definitely a few small spelling mistakes and stuff like that. So, for example, in the last sentence, a lot of people spelled the word extracted slightly wrong. But that's fine, right? When you do your checking, right, if you made a mistake, just list down that word. You probably have to write it a few times. 你可能需要默写几遍，背一下这个拼写，对吧？但是呢，整体来说，你们的句子基本上都是对的。Yeah. In terms of the other mistakes I caught, a few common mistakes just to watch out for. Number one, capital letter at the start of your sentences. Quite a few people miss the capital letters, right? Just be a bit careful of that. In this last sentence, 这最后一句呢，好些学生就是那个 produced 词形漏掉了一个 d 在后面。你们能看出来为什么这里需要有个 d 吗？对，所以这个就是我们在说的这个时态是 something is done，好吗？Done 就是那个过去时态 past participle，yeah。Good. Yeah, something is being done, for example. Good. So, 被动语态, yeah. Okay, nice. So with these kinds of things, these are just some small details, but in general, you've definitely memorized the main content of the actual sentence, right? So that's what we consider a pretty efficient type of study. All right. Are there any questions about that? Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, Jasper.
Yes, really. If I just forget some word in whole sentence, how should I do?
There's not much you can do. If you've forgotten something, unfortunately, it's gone.
Yes, I know. Like
And that's why I say it's important to have the visualization.
yes,
Right?
maybe I will give us like a similar information about what can I just give.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you can't remember the exact words, you can just do a paraphrase, right? But it will also almost definitely have some mistakes or lose some marks in there, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. It seems like one sentence it will like give some learning ability or creating skill. It's something like that. I will just lose part of them, so I will just write something similar
yeah.
if I can
So
just remember that.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's true. You just write whatever you can. All right. But these kinds of memorization techniques are specifically designed to stop that from happening. Right? Because the idea is when you're having a normal conversation with someone, you're never worried that you'll accidentally forget what you're going to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in your mind, you have a very clear understanding or direction of what you want to say, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you have that, you generally won't forget. That's the usual rule. Now, obviously, if you wait a few weeks, maybe you'll forget a couple, but it shouldn't happen too often.
Yeah, like in my normal practice, I will just make some question like that when I just like typing the whole sentence. Sometimes I will just forgot the word and
You
I
need
will
to
just memory
that's why I think memorizing the scenario is so important, right? Let me try to explain why it's generally very useful. Okay. Imagine, we're 2 weeks in the future, right? And you're in the middle of the exam, for example. Yeah. And then you listen to the write from dictation and you hear, no, 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 couldn't hear it, but then you suddenly hear salt water. Okay. What happens in your mind? So when you hear the
uh
word salt water, what I'm hoping is you're thinking, oh, I remember that sentence. What's that sentence about? I'm going to Woolworths to ask the guy there where your salt comes from. How's your salt produced, right?
Yeah.
The idea is supposed to be like you're creating a story that's easy to remember. It's difficult to remember random words or sentences with no context. It's quite easy to remember something that has context. That's how our brains work. Right. So
Okay.
that's why when I say when you remember that sentence, I don't want you to remember the technical information, the words or anything like that. I want you to remember when the other William told you every time you go to Woolworths, you should ask the guy there, where's your salt produced? Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
but
yeah.
like in the WFD pools, they have some sentence similar, but
Yes.
sometimes you will mix your memory. You know about that?
It is possible. Yeah. I'm not saying that nobody's memory is perfect. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that doing this method will instantly fix up all your memory problems, right? But you have to also remember that for most of you guys, your target's not to have a perfect sentence. If you can achieve like an average of about 80% accuracy, that's usually pretty much already enough to pass the exam.
Okay.
Right? You can think of it as you have a budget of probably about 2 mistakes per sentence, if you like.
Yeah, because I
Right.
just want to get the perfect score in WFD because I have no more confidence about the other question in the
Everybody wants to get a perfect score, but I don't think it's reasonable to force yourself to have a perfect score. That's not really a realistic goal.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why I say to people, right, you want to try to get as good as possible, and I think this is probably the best method to achieving this, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, when you forget something in the real test, there's not really that much you can do, right? You can just assume you've already lost some of the content score. Just need to make sure that you try to keep it as steady as possible.
Okay.
All we can do is minimize the chances of that happening. We can't guarantee 100% every time. Yeah.
Hmm.
And there's no need
Yeah.
either, right? Keep in mind, a band 8 in the listening these days is only 70. Right? It's much lower than it used to be. So in general, right, this is not going to be a huge problem.
Okay.
All right, very good. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of tonight's practice session. Now, we'll be collecting some feedback, how you guys felt about this particular class and if it was useful. If everyone really likes it and wants to do it again, we might do some when new teaching comes out, or I think we've got some other questions in the summarized spoken text and stuff. We'll see how it goes. Okay. But yeah, please give us some feedback on this class. Is this something that you guys find useful or enjoyable? We're more than happy to develop some new classes or materials based on that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for tonight, guys. I know a lot of you guys have had a pretty long day. We've had a lot of hours of classes today. So go get yourself a good rest. And yeah, thank you so much for coming tonight. Yeah. That's it for me. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye.